Hey, what's up, you guys? We are back with another episode of Over the BS. I'm your girl, Sadé.
And I'm Blair.
And we've got a special guest in the house, a favorite, by the way, an Over the BS favorite, Garin Flowers from Bachelorette.
Our first repetitive guest.
Oh, I'm the first repetitive guest? That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yes, this is a big deal, okay?
This is a big deal, and I'm a fan of y'all, so it works out.
Thank you. We appreciate it so much.
Absolutely.
And we also appreciate, coming back during this time where the Bachelorette franchise is, kind of under a lot of fire right now.
It's in jeopardy.
What'd you say?
It's in jeopardy.
Jeopardy. The most, as Chris Harrison would say, the most dramatic season yet. But right now, The Bachelor has been, catching a lot of flack, especially around race and issues involving racism, and with the history of the show. So we just wanted to have you on, kind of talk to us, your thoughts, your opinions with everything that is going on. For those who aren't up to speed, I'll break it down for you really quickly. So currently we've got Matt James, the first Black Bachelor, on. One of his front runners is Rachael Kirkconnell. TikTok was made bringing up pictures of her at a plantation, like southern
antebellum party.
Yeah. Antebellum party themed ball from 2018, along with alleging she likes pictures with Confederate flags and like QAnon conspiracy theories, which kind of blew up. Currently, she is on Matt James' season, so when you're on the season, you cannot really control your social media, so people are leaving comments, things like that, began spiraling. Matt made a statement, and it's been going crazy from there. Chris Harrison spoke with Rachel Lindsay, the former Bachelorette, first Black Bachelorette, and he made a statement saying that Rachel was a poor girl who was a victim of basically the woke police, and that this party happened years ago, and is it okay, not okay in 2021 versus 2018, but I think he said years prior to that. He was mistaken. So Garin, coming to you as someone who has been part of this franchise, do you think Chris Harrison was in the wrong with that statement?
Oh, absolutely. And it doesn't take for me to be a part of it to know that I feel like his comments were cringe and, ignorant. And you can tell that he felt that way in his apology, if it was a genuine apology. So just as a Black man in America, it's just so frustrating when people don't recognize things that are problematic and wrong. And it's like, look, we're not asking for a lot. Like, is it so much to ask not to celebrate an Old South party? Like genuinely, is that a lot to ask? And it's dismissed because a lot of people are starting to speak up because of social media. And I get it. Social media is toxic and there's a lot of negativity on social media. That affects everybody. Negativity and toxicity affects everyone on social media. So forget about social media. Let's talk about things that are true problems. And he decided to criticize social media and what he calls the woke police and all that, over criticizing what was wrong in the situation, why people were genuinely upset. And that is why he didn't understand what happened. And that's why he got the situation he's in right now.
Yeah.
I have a question for Garin, because it's kind of crazy that this is happening and that, he clearly didn't get away with it. However, I feel like it's still kind of a pat on the wrist a little bit. It's like we're going to suspend him for a few episodes. There's not really a clear statement. So, Garin, what would you like to see? Would you like to see Chris Harrison be let go, or would you like to see him, keep being suspended for a few weeks? What would you feel like someone would need to be educated on in order to get their job back, or should they even deserve that chance?
Yeah, I think we just need time to see what happens. It's hard to say whether he should lose his job or not. I think that we have to see what kind of comes out of this situation once once we are able to understand what happened with Rachael fully, what happened with Chris, why did she do what she did, and when she's able to speak out, why did he say what he did, and he's able to speak out, and then we're able to make a decision. I'm not a big person on like making quick decisions. You know what I'm saying? Like I think it's okay for us to take our time to decide what should happen here. You know, had it been a little bit more egregious and in your face type racism, then yeah, it's like immediately.
I would argue that it was kind of pretty in our face, though, his comments.
Especially to Rachel Lindsay.
To me, I would say like his comments regarding race itself seemed very telling of where he is in regards to those sorts of statements and situations where he's just like, there's a mob versus like, why is there a mob?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not defending his comments at all. I think it was disgusting, and I'm glad that he stepped aside. I just said we need some more time to figure out the discussion of how we feel about everything. And earlier, Ivan, I saw he did an interview where he said he wouldn't feel comfortable with Chris Harrison on Bachelor in Paradise, and if it were to come, soon, I wouldn't either. But also, I'm just a very open, forgiving person. So that's just my thing. He apologized. I heard it. Now we just need some time to figure out how do we really feel. So that's just my thing, because what he did was clearly wrong. But I'm just a sucker for apologies, and I like to see people sort of try to right their wrongs, because some people won't apologize and some people will stick it in your face that this is what it is and I don't care,
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know how much you could really know about this situation, but typically when these things happen, someone says, I'll take a leave, and then they do like diversity training for like a day or 2 days. Like, do you know of anything that is actually happening to help this sort of situation? Because if we really look at it, The Bachelor has a history, of like racial issues within the show, of passive aggressiveness. I mean, if we want to bring up the whole issue that came up with DeMario and Corinne Olympios in Bachelor in Paradise, they were just like, misconduct has happened. And then, there was a huge fallout for DeMario from that, where he couldn't even get jobs and things like that. Granted, he was also kind of in bad light from just being on Rachel's season and seeming somewhat like a player, but there was misconduct there, and then they had to have a talk about racism for like 5 minutes, and then it was back to Bachelor in Paradise, and I was like, that was it? Or they've had the after the final rose ceremonies and things like that, or Girls Tell All, and they'll talk about, you said I was this, you said I was that, well, girls, what about blah blah blah, and they're like, okay, it's fine, and then it's like done. So I'm wondering how, if you've even heard anything or know of what the franchise might be doing to really put in some work, besides being like, we're going to watch a diversity video and we're going to have more people of color than we've ever had before. But as we've seen online, they actually don't get as much airtime as the white girls anyway. Somebody did the math. So what do you think?
That's such an important question, and it's something that needs to happen. I'm not privy to what's going on the inside, but I think that whatever diversity training there was previously needs to be heightened. If there wasn't something before, then there needs to be something created. And if there was something before, it needs to be heightened. And, they were putting in work before all of these incidents to try to fix things with, having another person of color Bachelorette, and then having the first Bachelor. So there were things that we see that were trying to be put in place, but obviously it wasn't enough. So hopefully they continue to work on that. But there's nothing that I know particularly about what's being done.
With this huge platform that The Bachelor and the Bachelorette franchises have, I don't understand why they just don't do like a little 10-minute, 15-minute segment on ABC before the show starts and have an in-depth conversation, because Bravo's doing that. Before you watch Real Housewives or anything, they're having those sit-down conversations. But ABC should have been having these conversations during the protests in the summertime. Other networks like Bravo and NBC are already ahead of the game. So, Garin, talking to your castmates or other individuals in the franchise, what do they say, or what different things are you hearing?
That's important. I didn't even know about that. That's important. Well, first of all, I've seen articles about Rachel Lindsay potentially being the fill-in host for After the Final Rose, and she said that that's something that she wants to see is a overall discussion on race. So I think that that's super important to kind of do what you're looking for. But you know, I haven't really spoken to the other guys that much about it. I think that we had that statement that we released as a unit, the season 16 guys that you saw on Instagram. We really spoke out against some of the things you're seeing. And today I saw Ivan once again speaking out against it on another channel, saying that he wouldn't feel comfortable, you know, with Chris Harrison and Bachelor in Paradise. And so, you know, I will see some things from guys on interviews they're doing and stuff, but I haven't spoken to anyone directly about, you know, any change we want to see or anything like that, just because I haven't really had a chance to speak to the guys about it.
Yeah. You know, regarding that statement, I saw a lot of the girls who are on the current season who, you know, were dismissed already or, you know, didn't get a rose. They made a statement, and then a lot of you men from the season where your season with Claire, it's so weird to say Tasia season. You guys made that statement. Why was it important for you guys to actually like band together and like release these, you know, Instagram posts at the same time? And you know, and I asked this earnestly because, you know, coming off of BLM, we had so many people put up black squares. Like, how is this going to be different in that regard?
Well, it was important for us to speak out, and I think you know, we've been off for a little while now, so it was like, all right, what do we do? What happens now? Like, do people want to hear from us? You know, are we a part of the discussion? And I think we are. You know, people do value what we think. People still care about us. You know, we were the latest season of the Bachelorette, so I'm so glad that we came together and spoke out. And obviously, just posting a statement is not enough. Like, there's so much more that comes from that. So, you know, you have to continue to be a part of change and continue to be a part of wanting to make things better for everyone. Like, that's what we want. We want equality. We want a fair chance. We want everyone to feel good, to feel safe, to feel appreciated and loved. And that's the biggest thing. So that's a never ending journey.
Yeah.
You know how ironic it is that he made those statements with Rachel Lindsay, but during the current season of the first Black Bachelor, all going on at the same time. So you would think that just like the timing of it all, ABC would even be more involved with, you know, the controversy and make a statement within themselves. I don't know. It just seems kind of fishy to me.
Fishy?
Right?
I'm like, I don't know. I feel like maybe they're just trying to be a little more calculated, which is probably part of the issue. By trying to be too calculated, they may be protecting people who don't need protecting in that regard. I mean, obviously I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but if they're being, you know, too careful, it can take away from authenticity. If they try to say something, it's like, is this something contrived by the PR teams to protect, you know, the poor girl Rachels or the Chris Harrisons of them all? Or, you know, is this an actionable step to really diversify the franchise?
Because Chris Harrison's girlfriend made a statement before he did, so.
Yes, Lauren Zima condemned his statements and said it was disappointing. I was surprised to see some really out there statements, you know, pertaining to Chris Harrison, like Taylor Nolan, who was on a previous season of like Bachelor in Paradise and Bachelor. She said he needs to be fired like right away. And I was like, wow. I didn't expect to see so many contestants really, you know, let their feelings out and their emotions, because I've always felt like this franchise is somewhat protected. I mean, obviously, Garin, you know, like we had to go through a whole process just to interview you. So I was really surprised to see, you know, people really taking that step forward and being like, this is how I feel. Like you mentioning, Ivan saying he's not comfortable in Paradise. That is also very like shocking and surprising to me that, you know, he would, you know, feel that vulnerable and get to like say that.
You know, we were the most recent season, so there's a little bit more oversight over us, you know, and approval. but folks like Taylor and people who've been off the show for a year plus don't have the same contract restrictions that we do. And so they're more comfortable and competent to speak out about it. And that's important. And then also when it comes to us, while we are under contract, we are also our own individuals and our own people. And it's not against your contract to speak out against something that's wrong. You know, like it's not against your contract to say that this wasn't appropriate, this wasn't right, this was wrong. So I do appreciate everyone who's speaking out and saying what they feel, and it's important.
That's important what you just said. Say it again, because, you know, for the ones in the back, because I feel like when issues like these are brought up, you know, there is an element of fear a lot of times, you know, in speaking out. People fear, will I lose my job? Will I get cut from this? Will I no longer be eligible? Will I, you know, depending on the situation, depending on the production company, whatever, people often fear some sort of like blowback. So, you know, I think it is important that you said, like, you know, when there's something that's this serious and you feel strongly about it, and it's wrong, you know, speak out. One thing I did want to bring up, Garin, is, you know, you mentioned, you know, having fill-in hosts, and Rachel Lindsay said that's something she'd be interested in. You have, you know, a whole, you know, history of being a journalism professor and an active journalist and entertainment host. And there's now a petition for you to be the next Chris Harrison, the next host of The Bachelor. Would you do
it? I'm glad you asked. I would, you know.
Get that money, Garin.
I mean, look, qualified. Let's see, if they want the diversity card, not to pull it, but I mean, you are qualified. You've been on the show. You're a professor of journalism, so you know ethics and you know what you're talking about. And you're good looking, you're a Black man, like, it's, you know what, ABC, if you're listening, let's do a duo. We should have Rachel and Garin together. Because they're different parts.
What if they try to do Chris and him together? Well, they're like, let's even the playing field.
Yeah, you know what? You know, one of you guys can do After the Rose. One of you guys could do, I don't know, Women Tell All. You can split half on Paradise. Paradise, there are a lot of you guys, and you guys are always now. So.
Oh my gosh! First of all, I don't know what to say. Y'all have me like super flattered over here. I'm very appreciative. Like, Sadé, you and I know each other from the hosting world, and you know, I know how great of a worker you are. You know how hard I work. So it means a lot. And, you know, I went on this show for love. Like, I really, really wanted a chance to meet Claire, and I got to do that. So I'm grateful. And, you know, it was such a great process because I learned about myself and about love and about romance. And I got so many great friendships out of it. So, you know, the hosting aspect of this, you know, just kind of came out of nowhere. Like, there's some people who know my background and know what I do, and they just kind of were reaching out to me about it, and I just kind of brushed it off, like, because as we know, hosts nowadays are usually picked from a pool of familiar names, you know, people who are like big names. And obviously, you know, my name isn't a big name from the franchise. And so someone eventually like mentioned my name in an article when they were getting an interview, and that kind of sparked it, like, wait, what? Like, thank you. Like, that's super flattering. And then someone else, another fan of the show, created a petition that has now garnered hundreds of signatures. So now I'm finally like falling in line, like, okay, if you guys believe in me, I have to believe in myself. So I would do it if they asked, with changes, of course, with seeing them serious about making people feel inclusive.
Yeah. And, you know, authentically inclusive. I know how you are. So you'd want to make sure that you're like, this isn't a front. You know, I'm not just here to, you know, be some sort of like cover for you guys, you know?
I want to see more dark skin.
Absolutely.
Right? Because, I mean, they have Black people, but I want to see more dark skin.
Yes.
I'm just saying.
You know, Garin, I think that you would honestly just make like, and seriously, I feel like something they really should consider you as one of the hosts, because like I said, you know what you're doing. Obviously, look at you, you're building an entire community on Clubhouse. This man, if you guys are not on Clubhouse, you need to get on it if you are a Bachelor fan, because this man is running Bachelor house, like rooms.
They need invites, Sadé.
Huh?
They need invites. We got to invite them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You got to have an invite to get on the app, but we can get people on. We can get people on.
If you are a Garin fan, reach out at overthebsshow@gmail.com.
Period.
And say you heard this episode and you'd like an invite on Clubhouse. And the first person who does that, you will get an invite from me.
There we go.
So we can sign it. We need to sign this. We need to share it.
Send us that petition. We're gonna circle that, okay?
I love that. I love that. But yeah, and as flattered as I am, I think that they'll go with a bigger name than me. But I would be remiss not to, throw my name in the hat and say that I'm interested. So.
No, we gotta keep the confidence, Garin. Gotta keep the confidence.
Yeah. You're right.
You know what? But why? Okay. So let's say they do go with a big name. Why can't you be more of the Bachelor correspondent? Because let's be real. They had Ben Higgins signed up to do that show that didn't happen, like The Bachelor that was supposed to come to hometowns, and he was supposed to do it with live people in front of an audience. That didn't happen, I'm assuming, because of the pandemic. But Ben was going to do that, and he's not like a host, So why can't you become maybe even a Bachelor correspondent? You show up, at the tell-alls and the reunions, and do things here or there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I'd be down for that. I'd be completely down for that. 100%.
So I do have another question for you. It's kind of bringing it back to everything we were talking about earlier, but with the way this season has been going, Matt James's season, Rachael looks like the front runner, Rachael Kirkconnell. And he initially didn't even really say anything about it. And he recently made a statement yesterday and said it was like, I think was the word like disappointing, or, in your opinion, because obviously this season it's filmed earlier, a few months earlier, as you know, do you think he picked her and is now reflecting on that?
Yeah, I do. I think that when he's with her, he shows more excitement than he is with Michelle and Bree. I think that he enjoys Michelle and Bree, but Rachael seems like she's the front runner. So it's a huge possibility that he picks her, and that's just super awkward with what ended up coming out, So it's frustrating.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, and I personally, I feel like he chose her. Like, I feel like he definitely did. We're getting hitched, and now he's like, oh.
But no shade, but Matt always gave me Uncle Tom a little bit. I say over the BS is about saying it like you mean it. And he always, for one, he kisses with his eyes open. That's a whole nother conversation. But number two, that was my number one thing. He never made a statement. It took him forever.
Yeah.
Isn't he a Republican too? Not saying that all Republicans are like, that, but I'm just saying it gives me a little Ben Carson a little bit.
Ben Carson's giving Ben Carson, stop, Blair. I just hope the best for him, because I'm imagining this can't be the best situation if he did indeed propose to her and she said yes, and now you're looking at like, oh, girl, this is a laundry. If all this stuff is true that's alleged in these TikToks. And one thing I didn't mention earlier is people from her past apparently said that she made fun of them or bullied them for dating Black men, which I feel like that is got to be incredibly hurtful if it is true. And is something, you'd want to get to the bottom of, because it's kind of course people can change, but that's just a little, not the best, not a good look.
Garin, if you were the Bachelor and a woman who that you could have chosen, hypothetically, was part of these old Southern antebellum parties, do you think that you would have a feeling?
So I love that question, Blair. And I don't think I would have ended up with someone like that, because for me, I think it's important to be open to dating outside of your race and to follow love and to follow your heart. Mm-hmm. But I also think you have to find people who are genuine and who don't see you as a fad or don't see you as, you know, a human being that is worthy of love and like the utmost respect. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know what's in Rachel's mind and her heart, so I can't say that. But at the same time, I don't think I don't think I would end up with someone who had a racially charged past like that. Because, for instance, with Claire, I had a lot of questions. I had a lot of questions about how would you defend me if there was a racist situation against me? You know what I'm saying? Like, would you speak out against that? Because you can be you can be on different levels of the situation when it comes to race. You can be someone who is for equality but doesn't speak out against it. You can be someone who might make a quick post on social media. You can be someone who makes a big stance on social media. You can be someone who's out in the trenches rallying, you know, out in the streets. And I want someone who is going to defend me as if it's themselves. You know what I mean? And so I wanted to ask her about her thoughts on BLM. I wanted to ask her her thoughts on having interracial kids, right? I wanted to ask her her thoughts on how would you defend me if someone yelled a racial slur at me? Those are the type of things that can happen, you know? And if you ask those right questions, you can really understand how someone really is. And there was a red flag for me with Rachel in the first episode when she said, "I don't see color."
Oh, I know. I clocked that and I was like,
it was giving me Kim Zolciak.
And you know what?
It's
that used to be the right thing to say, right? Like that used to be the right thing to say. Like, you don't see color because you wanted to make it known that like you view as everyone the same. We all bleed red. But if you're really for the fight for equality, you would know that that is no longer appropriate to say.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Someone who really is about that life, about equality, about justice for all, you would know that that is no longer the right thing to say. That like you do see color and you recognize that you can't be a bystander,
right?
Because that means that you're not doing enough.
Yeah. And when you say you don't see color, like it also kind of inherently implies like that you're ignoring the obvious you know, trials that someone goes through by their presentation, who they are and how they look. You know, someone's black, majority, you know, you can see that they're black. You can see that someone is like of Asian, you know, Asian descent or whatever. So to say you don't see color is choosing to omit that when you know that that's not true.
Well, it kind of gives people an excuse to say something or do something. So if me as a black person says to one of my white friends, like, hey, that's not kind of cool to say as I'm a black person. And they say, oh, you know, I don't see color. It like gives them, they think that they have an excuse to say, or, oh, you know, I don't see color. It's like, no, like it's still not okay to say. Because if you saw color, then you would not have made that statement.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
So,
go ahead.
I was gonna say, Garin, I think those are, you know, great questions, incredible. Up to where we are at this point in the season, do you feel like, I know that some stuff gets cut out and left on the cutting room floor. Do you feel like any of those conversations have actually happened or on the cutting room floor, or that just Matt isn't there yet? Because from my opinion, it looks like he doesn't really know what's going on, even in his season.
You know, I just don't think that those questions are the type of things that are important for him. It could have easily been cut, like easily. But I think that for me, it would have been such a part of my narrative that it would not have been cut out. And, you know, my brother was making jokes. He was like, don't make it to hometowns. He was like, my first question is like, Claire, what do you think about BLM? You know what I'm saying? Like, he was like, my first question is this, you know what I'm saying? So my brother made a funny joke about it. But I just don't know what we just don't know. We don't know what Matt thinks about race. Like, we know that he doesn't want to be judged on it, which is important. But like, we don't know how he feels about, you know, certain things because he just hasn't addressed it.
Yeah.
And he doesn't clearly have a lot of black friends either, I don't think.
I was gonna say, it was a little problematic at the beginning when he started his whole season off by saying like, you know, I don't want to get anybody mad. Like, there's two sides to, you know, and I don't want to say I'm going to end up with one race over another. And then then he said, yeah, because black people want this, or I don't want white people to think this. And it's kind of like, it seemed weird to make that sort of PS.
You don't have to address that, sir. If you like yeah. He doesn't see color, Sadé. He doesn't see color.
See, that's Blair.
I mean, listen, I think he's such a nice guy. I think he's a great dude. So
yeah, and I don't know if he like was struggling with what he really wanted to say, but it felt like he was dancing around a core issue instead of getting to the point of what he really wanted to say. Or could have.
I just feel like he's some sort of. I think he's lost because I was really confused because I knew that him and Hannah were cool, but I figured after she said the N-word and slipped it on Instagram Live a couple times that maybe he wouldn't claim it as much, but he best friends with Hannah.
He said, I remember when he said it was okay because people keep learning, but like I had an issue with that too. That's another thing we could add to this Bachelor list. Like she slipped up, said it. It shouldn't even be she slipped up because like if you can say that normally, you're saying it all the time when Black people aren't around. You just got caught, and then she tried to blame it on her brother, and then she said she didn't say it, and it was all on video. And then he was just like, well, people are learning. It's like she's a grown woman who's been in pageants. I've been in a pageant, and you go through like training and all that stuff to like make sure you can present yourself and you know how to speak, and it's like if you were in front of a judge you wouldn't have said it, but like no one's around, and like character's a whole other thing, a whole other conversation. But
yeah. I do want to say one thing though, because Garin mentioned it at the very beginning and I was going to bring it up later, but he pretty much said, sorry if you want to correct me you can, but how I took it was if Chris Harrison gets fired or not, it's pretty much like it doesn't mean he needs to get canceled. It just means about educating someone. And I feel like that's so important because when this happens, like we always say like no more cancel culture, but then when it happens, we're just like fired because I was. And it's like, no, we have to educate them. But it's like, are they really being educated? Like we want to know, are they actually getting that help?
Yeah. That's what I would like to see with this franchise. I mean, that's why I asked Garin that question. If do you know anything about like, is there anything actually happening and at ABC to really like look through their programming and seeing how they conducted the show over seasons and seasons. And I would hope so. To be perfectly honest, though, I do enjoy a good dragging, but I'm always like leave a moment to learn, because you can learn a lot from drags. But yeah. Garin, I'd like to thank you so much for coming on today. I know, sorry.
We're a mess, Garin. We're sorry.
We're ending the show. It's such a
no. Thank you for bringing me on. I have a lot of love for both of you.
Garin, do you have any final thoughts about the entire situation, though?
Man. Honestly, I don't. Like, I'm used to it. I've dealt with this my whole life. This whole Karen situation. I'm like. My first Karen situation was when I was like 12 years old, and a woman accused me and my brother of stealing the chromies off of her tire. I didn't know what a chromie was, and we were nowhere near her car. I just think it was an excuse to try to figure out why we were at this prominent high school in Fort Lauderdale. So I'm not surprised by anything. I'm not surprised by what Chris Harrison said. I'm not surprised by all these Karen situations. It's just coming out now, and I'm glad that it is coming out. So there's nothing for me to say. It's out there and it's present,
Yeah.
I hope her chrome's rusted out. That's all I got. Bitch.
You're the worst, Blair. I know that all that passive aggressive stuff needs to go because people carry that with them, and they, that again isn't something that you can get rid of in like a 2-day training. It's just not gonna happen.
It's about trauma. Like Black people, we face so much trauma. Like Garin, that one incident when you were 12, 11 years old, it stays with you for the rest of your life. And white people will never understand what that feels like. And I think that's why it's so annoying to us. And that's why we hold Chris Harrison, who's been on the show for 20 something years, because it's like, we know how it feels. We've been through this.
Yeah.
Lord Jesus.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for having me.
Thank
of course.
you so much. Before you go, shout out your socials. Let everybody know where they can find you. Just drop all your socials.
Well, since the last one, I now have a new social, Clubhouse, at Garin, Garin. I'm super excited about Clubhouse. It's an incredible platform, and I look forward to growing on it. I do a lot of Bachelor welcome rooms and parties for Bachelor Nation folks. So anybody who wants to see their favorite people, come on, because I literally talk to everybody. So that's at Garin on Instagram, at Garin Flowers, TikTok, Flowers on Flowers, and Twitter, Garin Flowers. So that's it.
Woo! Love it. All right, guys, you can find me, Sadé, at Sadé A. Spence on Instagram and Twitter. Find me on TikTok at Sadé TV. I am also on Clubhouse at Sadé A. Spence. usually just perusing those Bachelor rooms.
Yes. I'm gonna follow Garin after this on Clubhouse. But I'm Blair. You can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat. I am Blair T. I think my Clubhouse might be I am Blair T, or it's On Air with Blair, which is also my TikTok. So
you guys will figure it out. And don't forget to follow Over the BS Show on all socials. Please don't forget to leave us a 5-star review if you loved this episode, and make sure to fill it out. Tell us why you love it.
Can I say something?
To talk about.
And if you guys want to hear the show on Clubhouse so you can be involved, let us know, because we're planning something. So let us know if you want to hear us on Clubhouse too, and you guys can jump in the conversations.
Yep, Clubhouse Live. All right. Thank you guys so much for listening. We'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.